Dimebag Darrell talks far beyond driven, amps, and more. Yeah, I'm reading all the articles. Check it out. What's up, y'all? It's Thrash Potato, rolling around on the interwebs looking at some cool stuff, and I came across one of Dime's old interviews, and I thought it was cool as shit, so I figured we'd check it out and see what he said about Far Beyond Driven, amps, and a little bit more info that he shot out. It's been a while, so in case it wasn't fresh in y'all's memory, I'm here to make sure you never forget. Let's roll into it and see what the article says. Alright, so this article was actually conducted at his house in 1994 on February 11th, so that's pretty cool. This was 2 months before the release of Far Beyond Driven. So it starts off with saying Far Beyond Driven is much heavier than anything Pantera has released so far. And lordy mercy me, he was not lying. That was a fucking amazing album, still is. We're into topping ourselves. Cowboys was Cowboys, and everybody thought that was really heavy. I'm one of them. That's what got me into Pantera to begin with. Then we did Vulgar, and they said, no way, now you've got Far Beyond Driven. So he was pumping us up previously about how heavy and how hard that album was gonna fucking hit. Just for us to feel good about what we're doing, we need to top ourselves with each record, which if you ask me, I think they did tremendously. With most of the bands, it's usually the opposite. Every new record they try to come out with gets lighter and lighter, which he isn't lying. I mean, we can look at Metallica, for example. I'd just gone through an article where Kerry King was saying how he hated his albums in the 90s, and that's what happened. And he also wasn't lying about Pantera getting heavier and heavier. By the time they were done, they were dragging themselves through the thick-ass mud. It was heavy as shit. Then the fans are stuck with the first record, wishing and dreaming that ain't what we're about. Absolutely right, man. From beginning to end, I think Pantera's career was fucking amazing. Super stoked they got the Pantera tribute, but just for that simple fact, I think maybe you and I should go down memory lane and kind of revisit a couple things Dime was talking about. Thought it'd be a good deal. He goes on to say the songs were all written in the studio. Everybody was like, hey man, you got a bunch of riffs? And I was like, no, I had a couple ideas, but mainly I had a vision of what this album was gonna be. And I understand, because I make corny stuff, so I mean, I understand on a much smaller scale. And I have an idea of how I want it to sound. I've tossed drum beats like 4 times already and started anew, so I get what he's saying. I think we all did, and we were all in the same vibe. We got together, had a good time, drank some beers, smoked some weed, and wrote some songs. That's exactly what happened. We knew what this album had to be, and that's all it took. Hell yeah, thank goodness. Dude, what a perfect combination. I think everybody should start making a brew with that concoction and start making some heavy riffs in the name of Dime. Because I don't know what a lot of these people are listening to, but some of the stuff just ain't heavy. I mean, I seen a dude jamming in like a maid's dress the other day, wondering what the f is this shit, you know what I mean? Anyways, so Dime says that they'd write the song, take a break, and as soon as they can make it through the whole passage, we'd get the tape rolling. A lot of times when we first go through it, we say, that's cool, we need to go through a few songs again to tighten them up. But I pretty much kept the original guitar track that I played along with the drums on most of the tunes. So cool, man. That's almost exactly how I'd start. I don't know, that's just because all I have is Easy Drummer and my guitar, you know, so what else can I do? And then I went back and I recorded a double of that. Then we'd go write another song. This is the 3rd album you've recorded with Terry Date as a producer, they asked. What do you like about working with him? Terry is a great overseer. He doesn't tell us how to write our songs or how to play our instruments. He understands how we see our instruments and our music. So he pretty much knows their tools, they're the workers. He's just helping them build the house, basically. All he does is get behind us and reinforce what we do. He doesn't f*** with you or get in the way, which is fucking awesome, dude. Which, how else are you gonna write an amazing fucking record, if you ask me? He gets the best performances out of us. Terry focuses on what we're after and helps us get it. He works with us. We weren't tripping out on what he was doing to our sound. Perfect marriage between the guys, it seems like. And from what history told me, I guess they were really learning from the dude so that they could start producing their own records. So dude must have been one hell of a guy to fucking work with. And that's the best thing. He's a great dude and always an inspiration to be around. He and Vinny do a lot of the production. Oh, okay, so Vinny was already getting his hands dirty by this point. I get it. When we're getting tones and doing the final mix down, the two of them are uncompetable. Fucking no doubt, dude. And that was no joke. Amazing album, dude. How he's talking about tone and whatnot. I mean, I think Dime was always a tone chaser. I mean, even towards the end when he moved over to Crank, I think he was always looking for a sound. I mean, of course he had it. He's had his sounds from Cowboys all the way to Reinventing the Steel. So I just think he was always chasing down what that perfect sound was. And that's what's pretty cool because I do the same thing. You notice that from the beginning, by the time it was the end. I mean, he went from solid states to freaking tube amps. And he's got the basic formula down that never changes, but it looks like there were some things that changed towards the end. It's kind of crazy to go back in time a little bit and see him talking about those those sounds in real time and seeing what your heroes had to say about this and that. So they asked him, it sounds like you recorded several layers of guitar tracks. Believe it or not, it's pretty much just double guitars panned to about 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Some of the tracks are hard left and right with a triple up in the center. That's as thick as I got. I do some 3-part harmonies on Throes of Rejection and Hard Lines and Sunken Cheeks, but I didn't go overboard with it. Whenever I record more than 2 or 3 layers, it starts to get cluttered up. Oh dude, I know exactly what he's talking about. Even with my cheesy stuff, if I had one more layer after I double it up, I just get in panic mode, because it's like it's either gonna sound good or it's gonna sound like complete. So I'm gonna say it starts to get cluttered up, and you can't hear the cut of the guitars as good. Exactly what I'm talking about. It's a scary thing for me. They were professionals like a motherfucker at this time, so I'm sure he wasn't tripping on it too hard. They knew how to fix all that. It's hard to get 4 guitars to hit at exactly the same time and keep the attack tight. 100%, dude. And if you ask me, he mastered it to perfection. So they go on to ask him, you're a big fan of solid state amps. What do you like about them? Dude, solid state to me is more in your face. That's what I think too, 100%. While the tube sounds like it's surrounding your body, I'm not going for that soft sound. I ain't looking for a warm sound. My sound is warm, but I don't need tubes to do it. And I kind of get what he's saying, because don't get me wrong, tubes are amazing. I get why people would take a tube over a solid state any day. If you stand in front of a tube stack big enough, it feels like it's gonna pick you up. You know, it's freaking awesome. But if you do stand in front of a solid state, it's like right in your face, you know, right in your face. And I kind of get what he's saying just a little bit. The Randall RG100, oh man, I'm talking about the RG100, that's badass. Because of course, you always hear people talking about how Dime loved him, but when you hear Dime talking about him himself, it's sick, dude. The Randall RG100 is the best amp for what I do. Randall made a tube amp that they sent out to me. It sounded killer, but it wasn't solid state, so I'm gonna stay with solid. So at that point, he stayed with the solid, which, dude, the RG100, I've never owned one, but I've played a couple of them a few times, fully set up like that, and I mean, all you do is just pretend like you're standing right next to Dime on stage, dude. It sounds fucking great. A lot of people don't like his tone. It's confusing to me because I really dig it, but I totally understand, because there's a gang of tones. Like James Hetfield's a new tone. I'm really not a big fan of it, and I don't know why he's going for that open twangy sound. I get he loves country, but I mean, he's still Metallica, you know what I'm saying? To this day, when people find out that I use solid state, they'll come up to me and go, are you sure? That sounds like tubes, dude. The Randall has the warmth of tubes, but it has the chunk and that fucking grind right in your face. So now they're going on and asking him what he's listening to these days. So fucking cool, man. Let's see what mix of tapes and CDs Dime had at the moment. What are you listening to these days? They asked him. I love Dogman by King's X and Living Colour Stain. Fucking awesome, dude. Living Colour is freaking awesome. King X is awesome too. I've been listening to Blue Saracinto too, but most of the time you'll catch me listening to my old records. I've heard him say this many times, and that's the way I am to this day. So yeah, he's basically been listening to his old records. He says, I'm old school, dude. I'm into the new stuff, but I still listen to fucking Van Halen to this day. Old Kiss, Judas Priest, Ozzy with Randy Rhoads. I don't have free time like I used to, where I could put on a record and not get bothered. People are always calling me or coming to my house. I've lived in the same spot too long and everybody knows where I live. I don't think he minded it though. I really don't. I mean, he made a whole song about when the meth head showed up. So, I mean, he seemed like a pretty chill dude, man. If anybody comes across this video, gets this far and has met him, please tell me the experience you had. I also listen to things I've recorded myself. A lot of the stuff I do is bullshit on a 4-track recorder. I'm basically digitally trying to do the same thing. I'm actually doing that because I heard Dime did that. I will shamelessly say I'm copying dude just because it worked for him, and that's my favorite guitarist, dude. You know what I'm saying? So of course I'm gonna try it. It's usually an ongoing cycle of what's happening in my life. If somebody catches on fire, I'll go out there and write a quick song about it. I'm always into layering guitars and putting sounds together and seeing how they fit with each other. So I do that all day. You guys don't see it on this side, but I do that all day. That's what I'm saying. I probably do most of this because that's my favorite guitarist. I've heard some of this a little bit before, and I always take that information in and try to use it. Dude, I do the same thing. I think we all do a little bit, but that's just cool as shit. I've got a killer system in my truck, so I'll listen to a lot of those tapes when I'm driving around. Just like we all typically do, I think, blasting the radio, listening to some old records, old Spotify or whatever now, just having it crank, dude. I mean, I had Screaming for Vengeance cranked the other day, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. So they go on to say, Pantera has recorded a lot of its albums at your dad's studio. What is the advantage of doing that? We feel real comfortable there. Although we didn't like the experience of the studio being in Nashville now and having to fly there, the people in Nashville are nice. They didn't look at us funny because they're used to musicians with long hair. Although maybe not the ones with purple goatees. It was cool that we didn't have a bunch of our friends coming into the studio sessions and hassling us, but we were living in a fucking motel. We do that shit on the road when we were on tour. It wore a little thin on us, and I can only imagine, especially if your house was as cool as Dime's, that would drive me crazy too. So we bailed out of there and came back to Dallas to finish the guitar tracks and whatever else we needed to be finished, which makes total sense why he made that studio in his backyard. I didn't even see that part of it. I bet you it's a pain in the ass going all the way to a studio going back. I didn't even think about that. That'd be a daily thing too. We mixed all the album at Dallas Sound Lab, and that was a breath of fresh air. We're real happy with the album, which he should be. The grooves on the album were like anything else out there. Pantera has really developed its own sound. Everybody's progressing. That's what you're supposed to do. We know what we're doing. We don't sit around and tell each other what to do. We might walk in and say, "What do you feel like today?" Like shit, fucking hungover. And then a song comes out like Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills. Awesome, dude. That's how we wrote that. That's bad, dude. I didn't even know that. I mean, I knew a lot of tidbits about this album. I didn't know that's how they got down for Good Friend and a Bottle of Pills, dude. That's awesome. We're pretty spontaneous about most things we do. A lot of people always want to know why we do what we do, but we don't plan anything. We just jam. That's the bottom line when you listen to Pantera. If it ain't jamming, we're wasting time. Hell yeah, that's badass, dude. So yeah, I learned a couple things, man. That was pretty awesome. That was cool to kind of go back in time and revisit. I think we're gonna do that again, and we'll pull out more from Dime, maybe from Randy Rhoads, and a couple other people, and see what they had to say, just so that we don't forget it. So I hope you guys really dug the video. If you liked it, look out for more of it. Look out for the little heavy metal music cartoons that I do, just little music videos. If you like those, maybe check them out, give them a like, whatever. If you like this video, maybe give it a like and all that stuff. Maybe subscribe. It really won't hurt you none. Like I said, you might see me bothering you in your timeline, but if you don't feel like dealing with me, you just scroll on by, and I understand completely. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out. So we'll go ahead and see you on the next one, and remember, stay metal. Late.